Your brain is literally shrinking right now. Not because of age. Not because of disease. But because of something you did yesterday when you lost your temper. Scientists have discovered what happens inside your skull during emotional outbursts, and the findings are absolutely terrifying. What if I told you that every time you lose control of your emotions, you're physically damaging your brain? Not metaphorically. Not theoretically. But actually causing measurable changes to your brain structure that show up on MRI scans. This isn't some self-help guru talking. This is hard neuroscience, and it's going to change everything you thought you knew about anger, stress, and emotional control. Here's what's really happening. When you lose emotional control, your amygdala takes over. Think of the amygdala as your brain's alarm system. It's a small, almond-shaped structure deep in your brain that's been keeping humans alive for millions of years. When danger appears, it floods your system with stress hormones and prepares you to fight or run. That's perfect if you're facing a lion. But terrible if you're stuck in traffic or arguing with your boss. The problem starts when this alarm system gets triggered too often. Every emotional outburst activates your amygdala. Every time you explode in anger or drown in anxiety, you're essentially pulling a fire alarm in your brain. And here's where it gets really interesting. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking and self-control, actually starts to shut down during these episodes. Researchers at Harvard Medical School used functional MRI scans to watch this happen in real time. They showed participants emotionally charged images while monitoring their brain activity. What they found was stunning. Within seconds of an emotional trigger, blood flow decreased to the prefrontal cortex while the amygdala lit up like a Christmas tree. Your thinking brain literally goes offline while your emotional brain takes the wheel. But that's just the beginning. The real damage happens when this becomes a pattern. Dr. Sarah McKay, a neuroscientist at the University of Oxford, spent 15 years studying the long-term effects of chronic emotional dysregulation. Her findings are disturbing. People who regularly lose emotional control show measurable shrinkage in their hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory and learning. We're talking about actual physical reduction in brain tissue. How does this happen? Every time your amygdala sounds the alarm, it releases cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. Cortisol is useful in short bursts. It gives you energy and focus when you need it. But chronic exposure to cortisol is toxic to brain cells, especially in the hippocampus. It's like acid slowly eating away at your brain's ability to form new memories and regulate emotions. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life. Meet James, a composite case study based on research from the National Institute of Mental Health. James was a successful marketing executive who prided himself on his passion and intensity. He wore his emotions on his sleeve. When deals went well, he was euphoric. When things went wrong, he exploded. His colleagues called him passionate. His brain called it damage. After 10 years of this pattern, James started noticing problems. He couldn't remember details from meetings. His decision-making got worse. He found it harder to control his temper, which led to more outbursts, which caused more damage. It was a vicious cycle. Brain scans revealed what his behavior already showed. His hippocampus had shrunk by 12% compared to people his age with better emotional regulation. Now here's where it gets even more fascinating. Scientists discovered that emotional dysregulation doesn't just damage your brain. It actually rewires it. Every time you lose control, you're strengthening the neural pathways that make losing control easier next time. It's like wearing a path through a forest. The more you walk the same route, the clearer the path becomes. Your brain is literally learning to be more emotionally reactive. Dr. Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin-Madison calls this neuroplasticity gone wrong. His research team found that people with poor emotional control develop hyperactive amygdalas. Their alarm systems become so sensitive that they start going off at the smallest provocation. A minor criticism feels like a personal attack. A small setback feels like a catastrophe. The brain's threat detection system gets stuck in overdrive. But wait, there's more to this story. The damage isn't limited to the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. Chronic emotional dysregulation affects your entire brain chemistry. It disrupts the balance of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. These are the chemicals that regulate mood, motivation, and pleasure. When they're out of balance, you become more prone to depression, anxiety, and addiction. Researchers at Stanford University discovered something even more alarming. They found that people who regularly lose emotional control show accelerated aging in their brain cells. Their telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of chromosomes, were significantly shorter than those of people with better emotional regulation. Shorter telomeres mean faster cellular aging. In other words, emotional outbursts are literally making your brain age faster. Let's talk about the cardiovascular connection because your brain isn't the only organ suffering. When you lose emotional control, your heart rate spikes. Your blood pressure soars. Your blood vessels constrict. This isn't just uncomfortable. It's dangerous. Studies from the American Heart Association show that people with poor emotional regulation have a 40% higher risk of heart disease and stroke. The stress hormones released during emotional episodes damage blood vessel walls and promote inflammation throughout your body. Here's something most people don't realize. The effects of losing emotional control extend far beyond the moment of the outburst itself. Research from the Max Planck Institute shows that it takes your brain between 4 to 6 hours to fully recover from a single emotional episode. During that time, your cognitive abilities are impaired. Your memory is worse. Your judgment is clouded. Your creativity is suppressed. One angry outburst can ruin your entire afternoon's productivity. Now you might be thinking, okay, this is scary, but what can I actually do about it? Here's the good news. The same neuroplasticity that allows your brain to learn bad patterns can also help it learn good ones. Scientists have identified several proven strategies for regaining emotional control and even reversing some of the damage. First, understand the warning signs. Your body gives you signals before you lose control. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing gets shallow. Your muscles tense up. These physical symptoms appear seconds before the emotional explosion. Learning to recognize them gives you a crucial window of opportunity to intervene. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, author of How Emotions Are Made, calls this emotional granularity. The better you become at identifying your emotional states, the more control you have over them. Second, practice the pause. When you feel those warning signs, stop whatever you're doing. Take 3 deep breaths. Count to 10. Walk away if you need to. This isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about giving your prefrontal cortex time to come back online. Research shows that even a brief pause of 30 seconds can significantly reduce the intensity of an emotional response. Third, reframe the situation. Your emotional response isn't caused by events themselves but by how you interpret those events. Cognitive behavioral therapy has proven this beyond doubt. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you can choose to see it as a personal attack or as someone having a bad day. When your boss criticizes your work, you can interpret it as a threat or as an opportunity to improve. The facts are the same, but your emotional response changes based on your interpretation. Fourth, build your emotional resilience through regular practice. Meditation has been shown to increase gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex while reducing amygdala reactivity. You don't need to become a Buddhist monk. Just 10 minutes a day of mindfulness practice can produce measurable changes in brain structure within 8 weeks. Studies from Harvard and MIT have confirmed this repeatedly. Fifth, exercise regularly. Physical activity is one of the most powerful tools for emotional regulation. It reduces cortisol levels, increases endorphins, and promotes the growth of new brain cells in the hippocampus. The American Psychological Association recommends at least 30 minutes of moderate exercise 5 days a week for optimal emotional health. That's not just good for your body. It's essential for your brain. Sixth, get enough sleep. Sleep deprivation is like emotional kryptonite. When you're tired, your amygdala becomes 60% more reactive while your prefrontal cortex function decreases. This is why everything feels more overwhelming when you're exhausted. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep isn't lazy. It's essential brain maintenance. Seventh, consider professional help. There's no shame in working with a therapist or counselor to develop better emotional regulation skills. Cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, and other evidence-based approaches have helped millions of people rewire their emotional responses. Sometimes we need expert guidance to break deeply ingrained patterns. The research is clear. Your emotional control directly impacts your brain health, your physical health, your relationships, and your success in life. Every time you lose control, you're not just having a bad moment. You're literally changing your brain in ways that make future control harder. But every time you successfully regulate your emotions, you're strengthening the neural pathways that make control easier next time. Think about it this way. Your brain is constantly adapting based on what you do. It's either learning to be more reactive or more resilient. There's no neutral. Every emotional experience is a training session for your brain. The question is, what are you training it to do? The scientists who conducted this research aren't trying to scare you. They're trying to empower you with knowledge. Understanding what happens in your brain during emotional dysregulation gives you the tools to intervene. You're not helpless. You're not broken. You're just running outdated software that needs an update. So the next time you feel that surge of anger or anxiety or overwhelm, remember what's happening inside your skull. Your amygdala is sounding the alarm. Your prefrontal cortex is starting to shut down. Cortisol is flooding your system. But you have a choice. You can let the pattern continue, or you can pause, breathe, and engage your thinking brain. That choice, repeated over time, will literally reshape your brain. This isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's about protecting your brain health for the long term. It's about preventing the shrinkage of your hippocampus. It's about keeping your prefrontal cortex strong. It's about maintaining the neurochemical balance that supports mental health. It's about aging well, both mentally and physically. The research is conclusive. Emotional control isn't a nice-to-have personality trait. It's a fundamental requirement for brain health. And the best part? It's a skill you can develop at any age. Your brain's plasticity means it's never too late to start making positive changes. Whether you're 20 or 70, you can strengthen your emotional regulation and protect your brain from damage. So take this knowledge and use it. Pay attention to your emotional patterns. Notice when you're losing control. Practice the strategies that science has proven effective. Your brain will thank you, not just today, but for decades to come. Because the truth is, emotional control isn't about being cold or unfeeling. It's about being smart enough to protect the most important organ in your body. Your brain deserves that level of care.